We live in what has been called the information age. We're surrounded by it. For many of you, gathering, creating, and evaluating information occupies much, if not most, of your time. But inevitably, sometimes quickly, sometimes after several years, there comes a time when information is no longer needed. Over the next few minutes, your employer wants to explain why it's so important for you to adhere to its information disposal procedures, and how not doing so exposes you, the organization, and its customers to unnecessary risks, fines, and even prosecution. The first thing to realize is that information means different things to different people. So let's start by first taking a look at what types of information and records need to be destroyed.
It is common to think that potentially sensitive records are those documents and computer files that are kept under lock and key by somebody else. But there's more to it than that. In reality, a business record is any recorded information, regardless of its medium or its characteristics, whether it's made by the organization or received by the organization. What that means is that a record can be anything from a misprinted form to a draft document to correspondence, whether that's through email or memos. Even messages that you receive on the phone or instant messages can be considered to be records. Basically, all documents that flow from the office on a daily basis are legally considered to be records. As such, those records have the potential of containing personal information or competitive information. And if that information ends up in the wrong hands, the consequences can be devastating.
And flow it does. Studies show that business communications paper is the largest single component of office trash. According to some studies, the average employee tosses out about 350 pounds of office paper every year. And when sensitive information on those records is discarded without first being destroyed, all sorts of bad things can happen.
Research and experience has proven that most cases of identity theft have not resulted from lost laptops or high-tech method attacks, more from the acquisition of personal information from a low-tech method such as dumpster diving. Dumpster diving, where the thieves actually acquire the information by pulling it from your trash, is extremely popular because it leaves no trace of them being there. The practice of dumpster diving has become such a concern that state and federal governments are actually legislating and enforcing laws against organizations and businesses that do not properly dispose of information.
In fact, the number of state and federal laws requiring the proper destruction and disposal of personal information has grown steadily over the years, with each more stringent than those they follow. As a result, over the last decade, the U.S. has gone from having relatively lax data protection laws to having the most stringent laws in the world. And while the list of laws requiring proper destruction grows, so have the legal and financial consequences. Texas Attorney General Greg Abbott is one of a number of law enforcement officials taking steps to make sure organizations take his state's destruction requirements seriously. The Texas Attorney General has continued to prosecute violators, including one regional medical facility that was fined over $900,000. Here he is at a press conference called to discuss one of a number of fines his office has issued for improperly discarding personal information.
Businesses across the state of Texas are obligated to shred, erase, or otherwise make unreadable personal identifying information of their consumers. This would include things such as social security numbers, driver's license numbers, credit card numbers, debit card numbers, any of the kinds of information that would be a treasure trove for identity thieves. A CVS pharmacy not too far outside of Houston have put information outside of the store that contained key information about their customers, consumers that could pose an identity theft risk. CVS is paying to the state of Texas $315,000. This shows how very expensive it is to violate this Identity Theft Protection Act. This judgment today sends a big, loud message to businesses across the state of Texas that there is an identity theft law in place, and that's a law that's going to be enforced, and there are stiff penalties to pay if that law is violated.
And he is by no means alone in doling out harsh penalties to those who ignore information destruction requirements. The owners of a Michigan hospital were fined $1 million for improper destruction, and at the national level, the U.S. Office for Civil Rights recently fined an interstate pharmacy chain over $2 million for discarding prescription information without first destroying it.
New tonight, police call it a criminal's dream, a dumpster full of documents
containing people's personal information.
And it's not just the authorities that are now taking an interest in information that is casually tossed out and putting people at risk. On any given night, somewhere in the U.S., an investigative report is being aired, chronicling the discovery of improperly discarded media. Nothing better characterizes this than a TV newsroom memo that recently surfaced, directing reporters to purposely scour the city's dumpsters in an effort to find sensational, embarrassing stories involving personal information in the trash. And when they look, they always find something.
We're here outside the county hospital where Team 7 investigation has turned up hundreds of the most personal medical files.
With all this in mind, the new regulations, the increased enforcement, the six-figure fines, and the media attention, you can probably appreciate why your employer has to make sure you understand that the sensitive information you handle, and which you will eventually discard, has first to be properly destroyed. No discussion about proper information destruction would be complete without discussing the disposal of electronic information and electronic media. While most employees don't make the decision about how computers or the information on them are destroyed, it is important that they do understand what the organization expects of them and what they must do when it comes time to retire their equipment.
When computer equipment is no longer needed by an organization, it is absolutely critical that the information stored on that equipment is properly destroyed.
It might make someone feel good to donate used equipment to a charity or hire a company to recycle them, but that good feeling quickly disappears when the computer is discovered to have personal or company information on it.
Employees and managers need to be confident that their organization is diligent about properly clearing computer equipment before releasing it. Service providers that handle used computer equipment need to have security and quality control procedures in place and comply with those procedures in order to ensure that all sensitive data is properly destroyed. Today, we need to think even more broadly about this issue. Virtually any system component with storage capacity needs to be considered. This can include things like copy machines, printers, multifunction devices, digital recorders, and even certain computer network devices.
When it comes time to discard these items, it's important you understand the organization's procedures for destroying them. The basic rule of thumb is, when in doubt, ask. Never take it on yourself to casually discard such items.
Right.
Up to now, we've been discussing how sensitive information comes to be discarded. Things like the memos and reports, copy overruns or mistakes, memos and drafts of correspondence, even computers and other electronic media. But exactly what type of information has to be protected? What information, if not properly destroyed, puts your organization and its clients at risk? The first is personal information. Information about your organization's customers and employees is one of two basic categories of sensitive information that requires proper destruction. There are a number of ways to describe personal information. You could say, it's any information that a person would want to keep private. Things about their personal lives, like medical conditions, reading or viewing preferences, or the amount of money they make. Personal information could also be defined as any information that, if in the wrong hands, could cause someone harm. Financial details usually come to mind here. This is the information that ID thieves use to create havoc with people's lives.
The point is, it's now illegal to allow unauthorized access to people's personal information, which is exactly what you risk if you throw it in the trash without destroying it first. What you need to ask yourself is, does it have somebody's name on it? Does it have an account number? Could it be used to cross-reference against other information to cause them harm? And really the ultimate question is, what's recorded on there, could it cause those people enough problems that they assume you're destroying it? If you answered yes to any of those questions, that information has to be destroyed.
The second category of information that your employer needs to properly destroy is competition-sensitive information. Information that could be used by the organization's competitors or others to steal customers, ideas, or gain any advantage.
Are you kidding me? I don't believe this! Man! If I keep losing these bids, I'm gonna end up like that bum down there digging for cans.
Oh, bingo. This is exactly what we were looking for.
History has shown that identity thieves aren't the only ones looking for information in the trash. Dumpster diving is a well-known method for competitive intelligence spies to gather information. And while information stolen from large companies may make the nightly news, information theft at small companies can be potentially devastating to their bottom line.
Many people think that this only applies to large multinational corporations. The truth is that this is important for any business, any organization, any agency. In fact, it may be even more critical for small businesses or nonprofit organizations that don't have a large IT or security staff to manage computer equipment disposal.
While ethical competitive intelligence professionals would not consider stealing trash as a way of gathering information on competitors, every business needs to guard against it because it does happen.
Fortune 500 mom and pop companies have the same concerns. High tech, low tech, it really doesn't matter. If you're casually discarding memos, reports, even phone messages, it's like giving your competition the keys to your office.
By now, hopefully you understand why your organization is so concerned that their information destruction policies and procedures are taken seriously. Quite honestly, they take it so seriously, it's a condition of your employment. At the conclusion of this video presentation, someone from your organization is going to provide you with an orientation on how you are expected to dispose of sensitive information. You will also be provided with a written copy of those same instructions. And finally, you will be asked to acknowledge that you understand the policies and the procedures and agree to comply with them. Proper information destruction protects your organization, its customers, your fellow employees, and you. Your employer has taken the time to show you this video presentation to demonstrate just how serious they are about it. Thank you for your time, and please pay attention during the orientation.